I have hit record. You'll see all my emails pop up.
Michael Ward's just called and said he's about to pop on the call, and then somebody else needs call-in stuff. So let me get that to them. If I can find it. Hey, Candace, I'm going to send you a text real quick for one of the chefs that needs the call-in information, because I think you have it more readily available than I do.
I posted it on our eChef page, so they all have it.
Okay.
And also, there was a handout provided, so everyone should have that in front of them as well while we go through the...
Yes, everyone got an email last night, and then this morning they have all the info as well on eChef.
Great.
Okay.
And Nancy, if you just want to hit end record before, you might just want to restart the recording when you start your presentation.
Okay.
Get started. I know a few more people are going to be on the call, but because some of them will come in late. Some of them let me know that they couldn't be on it, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Nancy, are you pressing record?
I have pressed record.
Okay. Hi, everybody. For those of you guys on the call and took the time to be here, thank you so much. For those of you guys that are listening to the recording, I just want to say thank you guys for listening to the recording, and I know that you guys can follow up with Nancy after this as well. And we also have a note in here to make sure that we as moderators make sure to unmute your microphone so we can hear you and to use your computers. Oh, did you just say that, Candace? I think Candace is on. Anyways, guys.
Yes, I did.
You did? Okay. I just want to welcome you guys to the call today with Nancy Farrar. Nancy has been a good friend of mine for, gosh, a long time, it seems like. She's located here in Fort Worth, Texas. And I'm going to kind of let her introduce herself to you guys and just kind of let her tell you guys her background. She wants a very open format. So as we go along and you guys have questions, please feel free to interrupt and answer those questions. If you feel like that we're not getting to your question fast enough, you can also write it in the chat section as well. Nancy's going to give you guys her contact information for after the call if you guys want to follow up with her as well. So, Nancy, I will let you take it from there.
Very good. Thank you, Deb. Hi, everyone. And Candace, one more thing just on the housekeeping stuff. My dashboard opened in a separate screen, and so if there are questions that are typed into that chat box, I won't see them. So if you could just prompt me if you see chat box questions come up. But I wanted the mic left open so that we could, at any point when you want to say, hey, Nancy, what about this? You can just jump on in. Just try to keep your background noise quiet and we'll be great. So I'm Nancy Farrar, and I'm with Farrar Food Photography. That's my company. And you're looking at my website, farrarfoodphotography.com. And just a little bit about me. I am a food photographer and only a food photographer. That's all I shoot. That's what I love. It's what I do. I've been a PR and marketing consultant for restaurants and chefs for many years, but food photography is really where it's at for me now. And I'm the food columnist. I'm one of the food columnists at the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, the newspaper here in Fort Worth, where I write a column about my home recipe. So I am not a trained chef at all. I'm a home cook. So my column in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram is my home cook recipes shared with other home cooks. I'm also a food blogger. So just real quick, you can see my cursor on the website, capturing the flavors and aromas of your food with beautiful photographs. I've been a foodie. Someone asking a question? I've been a foodie all my life, and it's just been a natural transition for me to move into full-time food photography. As so many of you know, with social media now, can you hear that reverb? I can hear myself speaking. Sorry, it went away. Sorry, I don't know if you could hear that. Big foodie, food photographer. My photo galleries in my website are Eat with Your Eyes, Drink with Style, and Travel with Your Soul. And we're here today to talk about iPhone food photography. What you're seeing here on my website is professional food photography taken with a very nice DSLR camera, and just foods that I've shot, some that I've made, some in my home kitchen, some that I've shot for other people, some for professional chefs. And there's a plethora of food photography here in the Eat With Your Eyes section of the website. And then I also have a gallery called Drink with Style, because where there's food, there's cocktails or drinks, beverages. And so there's a number of samples of just a variety of beverages that I shot. And I always like to tell people about this particular one, because this isn't actually in Cabo. And they light the herbs on fire in this glass at the bar, and then they put your glass over the top of it to capture the smoke so that your drink tastes like the smoke from the herbs. It was fabulous. Anyway, I love to tell that story. So Drink with Style, and then Travel with Your Soul, or some travel shots as well. And then under food events, I also shoot food events. So I was the official food photographer for the Fort Worth Food and Wine Festival, which was just a couple of weeks ago. And there's all the events are shown here in this drop-down menu. And then finally, from my site, Chef Impersonator is the name of my blog, and I started that in 2006. And that is just a whole lot of my food cooked in my kitchen. And some of these were recipes I did for the newspaper. Some are just I did for my home and my family. So you can go back and forth between the two. So I just wanted to give you a little taste of all of that. Just to get started, on social media, one of the things that just is so crazy is that chefs your lives revolve around making food that people will not only love to eat, but love to look at. But chefs are notorious for posting these dark photographs that they took real quick with their iPhone, and you post them proudly, and probably not any of you taking dark photos, but other chefs taking dark photos and proudly posting them on social media as promotion for their restaurant. And so I just want everyone to have beautiful photographs. The food is delicious. So with that, we'll kind of just jump into this. This is all about taking pretty pictures with your iPhone and doing it quickly and pretty easily. I'm a kind of a no fuss kind of person, and I'm going to give you some tips that are going to make this pretty quick for you. So we're going to start by running through the handout that I gave you. iPhone Photography by Nancy Farrar, and these are some tips that are just really important when you think about food photography. Some of you may know some of this, and some of you may be absolute novices. So I'm just going to speak as though everybody is just getting started when thinking about how to really take a nice picture. And then once we run through these tips, I'm going to actually, in real time, I'm going to edit some photographs that I took at a restaurant while I was at dinner last night in Dallas. So we'll do that real time, and we'll talk about that. So iPhone photography tips. The first one, if you don't remember anything else that I say today, remember this first tip. Use natural light. It's all good. Food photography is all about light. Light around the food, not on top of it. Things look beautiful backlit and side lit. And I often encourage chefs to go outside. Every one of you has a different environment. Some of you are in harsh fluorescent lights in a kitchen. Some of you are in dark restaurants with low lighting for mood. And so everybody, and every place I go with my phone, because I'm like, iPhone food photography is on one end of the spectrum, and my professional food photography is on the other. So with my phone, I don't carry my big camera around everywhere I go, but I sure want to take pictures of all the food that I eat. So you want to use natural light around the food, not on it, backlit, side lit, or take your plate, and if you're rolling on a new spring menu item and you're in a dark kitchen or a badly lit place, take the plate somewhere else. You don't have to do it on a table in the dining room. You could do it out front on a patio table. You could set it out on a wall. I've done this at restaurants myself. Take the plate out and set it on a wall somewhere. You don't want direct sunlight if you go outdoors. You want muted light or shade. Not direct sunlight is not often the best. Second, no flash ever. Period. End of story. On your phone, turn your flash off. Don't ever, and I mean really ever, use it. Not ever. Period. I guess that's clear enough. A flash on a photograph just looks awful. You're better off to take it in your dark room if you have to, and then edit it like I'm going to teach you. Use a white napkin to bounce or reflect light. So let's say, looking at that, just a photograph on the handout, if the light is coming from the left side of that salad, you might put a piece of white paper on the right side of that salad, to the right of that line, to bounce light onto the other side of the dish, because that'll open up the shadows. But I'm going to show you in shortly how you can open up the shadows on your phone by using the edit function as well. But you can do that. Use a white napkin or have somebody else hold a piece of white paper on the other side, just to reflect that light back. Angles. Angles are everything. And when I'm going to show you my photos I shot last night at dinner. The angle matters. And so I really take a second, and for you, because you're going to have time when you're shooting your own food, you're going to make the time to get the right angle. The salad you're looking at in this particular shot on the handout, it lended itself to being shot pretty much top down because it was prettiest top down. Other things like, let's say, cookies, which are stacked, or a cake with 10 layers. You might want to shoot that completely from the side so you can show the 10 layers to people in your photograph. So think about the angle. And then the other angle, I say here, overhead, which is top down, or straight from the side, or 45 degrees. 45 degrees is the angle when you sit at the table that your eye sees the plate in front of you. And so a 45 degree can be a nice angle too, depending. And as you do more of it, you'll really develop an eye for seeing how that particular dish is going to look best and what angle to use. And take the time to do that. When we get into looking at some of my shots, you'll see that I really do, I shoot close in, tight in. People don't want to see the table. They might want to see a little of the fork, but I shoot pretty tight in. So take time to compose your shot, which is the next tip, but shoot while the food is fresh. So when I do a professional photo shoot, I'll say to a chef, don't put the sauce on that until I say go, because sauces will tend to congeal and get hardened pretty quick. I'll have them, if it's pancakes, drip the syrup over just before I'm about to push the shutter so that you can catch the nice drips coming down the side of the pancakes, or the sauce flowing down the side of the dish. But shoot while your food is fresh. The next one is take numerous shots of the same plate. I do it, and you should do it. When I'm doing a professional shoot, I may take 20 or 30, sometimes even more, 20 shots of one plate, every angle, different lighting, different composition. And so you want to take the time to compose your shot and then try it every which way, every which way. And don't forget to turn the plate, and don't forget to go to the back side of it. Turn it around and take a shot that way. Turn it around again, take a shot, turn it around, take a shot, because you'll have the chance to delete the ones that you don't like. And even as a professional food photographer, all of us take multiple shots, because out of all of those 20 or 30 shots, there might be 2 or 3 that are what we like to call the money shot, right? So numerous shots of the same plate. You can tap your iPhone screen to tell it where to focus. I don't know if you know that. When you're focusing on a food or whatever, if you tap on the screen, a little yellow box comes up on your iPhone, and it tells you where to focus, and you can move that. So don't forget to use that. And then once you tap and that little square, that yellow square pops up, you can actually slide your finger up and down on the phone like leaving your fingertip on the phone and slide up, and it'll brighten it, slide down, and it'll darken it. And some folks don't realize they can do that. You use your edit functions on your iPhone and on Instagram, and I'm going to talk about that in depth. Stack things, things that might look nice, stackable sandwiches, cookies. The other thing is go to Google. Let's say you want to shoot you're shooting a 10-layer cake. If you're shooting a 10-layer cake, go to Google and Google 10-layer cake, and then click on images and just take a look at the millions of photographs on there, different ways to angle a 10-layer cake to make it look beautiful, and then try some of those. That's a great thing to do. So stack things like sandwiches and cookies. This is important too. I typically use small white dishes. Let the food be the star. Unless I'm trying to get a whole, a wider angle shot of whole table because the table looks particularly lovely and I'm moving away. And sometimes you don't have, if your china or your dishes are not white in the restaurant, use what you have. But I use smaller plates because less is more. People don't know that this little tiny plate of food is actually a tiny plate. It looks just as large as if it was on a large like 8 or 12-inch dish. So I tend to use smaller white dishes to let the food stand out. Stand on a stool for overhead shots. Wet your veggies. Or, backing up, stand on a stool for overhead shots. Or what I do in my studio, I put the dish on the floor. Put the dish on the floor, on a napkin, on a placemat, on a whatever, to give it some color behind. Put it on the floor and get above it. If that's easier, or stand on a stool for overhead shots. Wet your veggies or gloss them with cooking oil. I'm not a food photographer who uses artificial means to, you do a lot of that in commercial photography, but I do a lot of restaurant and chef stuff and my own stuff for my own column. And so I really use natural things so that, the food is not held together with glue. I might put a makeup sponge underneath the plate to tip it up the proper way that I want it, or I might, spray some vegetable oil to gloss things. Garnish your plate, even if the food, okay, and this is important too. So, because if you're a chef in a restaurant and you serve your food a certain way, or it goes to your customers a certain way, let's say your customers receive their food in a small black plastic covered dish, and you're delivering to people's homes. What you want to post on the internet, on social media, is not necessarily your food in that black plastic. You want to plate it nice so they can see what it might look like on their table, and that sells your food better. So garnish your plate, take it out of your plastic containers that you deliver in, and make it look like they would eat it at home. Cut fruit open, spritz things with water, shoot on whiteboard, blackboard, cutting board, and old rusty cookie sheets look fabulous. And you saw on that right there, that's my old rusty, and and that's kind of scrolling there, but that right there is, and you love the look of that. You can see that roasted in the oven for a long time. So try some of those things. And then use apps like Snapseed, Snapdish, and VSCO, and I'm going to talk about that at the end, because right now, Snapseed, write this one down, Snapseed and Snapseed, and the other one is called Tada SLR. It's TADAA SLR. Tada SLR, like tada. TADAA SLR. So with that being said, now we're going to move into some real life stuff. And okay, so last night, and this is the real story. Last night, Ed and I, my husband, went to this lovely restaurant called Filament down in Deep Ellum in Dallas. Fabulous restaurant, by the way, if you're in the Dallas area. So as I'm editing these photos, what you're going to see, like when I push this edit button, these here are on your phone as well. And so it's identical to what you would do. So what I'm going to do is just show you real quick. Oops. Yeah, so these are the photos I shot. This is the entry, the bar, and I'm not going to do all of these. I really loved the layout, and the exposed brick was really cool, and then they make their own sauce, and these are all original shots, shot as I shot them with my phone. No editing whatsoever. That is a chicken thigh on a biscuit that was delicious, and this is Wagyu beef tartare, and I loved their menu. And whoop, you don't want to see that. And then I got a ticket, but you don't want to know that. I got a parking ticket. Anyway, so I took a picture of that. So back at the beginning, so I'm going to show you from this first one. So this is a judgment call, okay, that you develop. So I'm going to show you some inside, outside, and then the food, because you'll want to take pictures of maybe your space. And maybe what I'll do is I'm going to start with the food so that we make sure to get that done, because that you care most about. So this is a delicious chicken thigh. I'm pushing the edit key, and on your phone, when you touch on a picture on your phone, that edit button is right there for you on any photograph that you've taken. So it's in the upper right-hand corner. Okay, so when I look at this photograph, and this is what also very important, this you don't have to use everything that's available to you here on the right-hand side. You really don't. Okay, so does everybody, just by saying yes or no, how many of you you edit your photos before you put them on social media or before you use them? Huh? Anybody? If you're all muted, whatever. Okay.
Not really.
Not really? Yeah.
Yes.
No, not really.
Not really. Okay.
I probably should.
Yes, you should. And when you see how easy it's going to be, then you will. And when I do these classes, most chefs say, a couple of them said, I didn't even know that button was there. I saw it and I was afraid to touch it. So you're not going to be afraid after today. Click the upper right-hand side. So the first thing about this when I see it, this is an enhance button. And look what happened when I auto-enhance that. And that's just awful, right? Revert to original. Off, right? Awful. You don't want to do that. And you can always revert to the original, so you don't have to worry about making mistakes. This is the rotate button. You don't want to rotate it. Sometimes I do, though, because sometimes something looks better. So sometimes you do, but sometimes you don't. This is the crop button. So in this particular image, I'm going to show you. So when you hit the crop button, you get this, which allows you to turn the image. If you want to, crop in and kind of flip that up a little bit, you could do that. And then you can hit done. And then you have that. And when you click edit again, you can revert back to the original. And so you don't have to be worried about pushing these buttons. You can always get out of it. So on this one with crop, my eye really, this is a lot of white space down here. So I'm just going to pull that up a little bit. And you see my cursor turns to the arrow. I'm going to pull up a little bit. I'm going to pull down a little bit up here because I don't like it's just my style. I want to taste that sandwich, and it was really, really good. So for now, I'm fine with it just like that. So I'm going to push done. And so now it's cropped in. Then I go back up. And you don't have to push done, by the way, after every one. You can just keep clicking through. So then this next one is filters. And here's the other important, put a star by this. I don't ever use these filters with food because, watch, you do not want this beautiful chicken thigh to look like that. You don't want it to look, that's not as good as it's going to be, and you'll see that. You don't want it to look like that. There's just not one that makes this look good. So none. So we're not going to do any of that with food. With interior shots, as I'm going to show you, you will. So then this is where you want to go. This is where you spend most of your time in adjust. So in adjustments, you've got light, you've got color, and you've got black and white. So I never want food to be in black and white, but I'm going to show you an interior shot where I do want it to be black and white, and we'll play with that. So here on this sandwich, the first thing I'm going to do is, because typically the first thing I always do is play with the exposure, which is which is the brightness. I'm going to play with brightness, and I'm going to brighten this up and look. And so you can overcompensate. You certainly don't want to do that. And that's when you go the other way. See, I'm just whoop, whoop, whoop. So that's where it was shot. So I'm going to brighten it up like I don't know, maybe right there. I kind of like that. And then I'm going to come down to color, and that I'm not going to play with, you can, if I play with highlights, you'll, and play with the buttons on your phone and you'll see, and you go where your eye goes, oh, that looks yummy. That looks how I want it to look. That looks pretty natural. And actually I kind of like that. So I'm going to leave my highlights right there. Contrast gives that softness to people's faces, which I mostly use the contrast with when I'm doing people. And then I'm going to come down here to color and saturation. And saturation is where you deepen these colors, and it can get real deep real fast and look at and terribly unnatural looking, which you do not want. And so my eye, it's easier for me when I go to an extreme and then pull back, right? Or you can, so if you start here, I might go really extreme and go, whoa, don't want that. And then come down, 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 down. And I go, oh, I'm starting to like that. I'm liking that. Okay. So, and then here is retouch. And when you retouch the size, you are, boom, and you made that into, you retouching that Band-Aid. It kind of fixes spots, and actually that did not, we don't like that at all. So we're going to not retouch. So I'm kind of liking this, and so I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm going to say done. And that photograph looks a lot brighter and more appetizing for social media than it did before, for sure. The next, so then the next one, I took 2 pictures of, this is the tartare. It was delicious, by the way, and it was served with these little toasts. And I didn't really want to see all the toast, so I did like these little dots, right? This was this little aioli that was on the side, and they did these pretty little dots. And so if I were going to pick one of these, this is a little bit blurry to me. And so I think that brightening this one up and cropping it a little bit is going to be better. So I'm going to click on edit. And again, if I try to just enhance, meh, revert to original. I don't really rotate. I'm going to crop this in a little bit because there's a lot of this down here. And so I'm just going to, it's just about your eye. I kind of want to leave that big dot there. So I'm going to do that and leave that crop. And then again, you don't want to use these filters. Look at what happens to this dish when you, and you can't change these filters really. You can kind of, but there's just nothing appetizing. And in Instagram, when you get tempted to use those filters, you edit your pictures before you put them on Instagram, and you'll be much better off. So, sorry, I'm going to go back here and go to none at the top, and then I'm going to go down to where I spend most of my time, playing with light and color. So, exposure, I'm going to bring that up a little bit. Let's play with highlights. And it's just purely a visual thing, right? And you see the highlights, like when you go way too far, what happens, all that yucky gray stuff happening around the corners. I might pull the highlights down a little bit to get when something's way too bright, you pull the highlights. I usually pull highlights down when bringing them up. Now watch what happens when I play with shadows, because you see this area here is shadowy. When I open up the shadows, look what happens to the dish. You can see inside there. And sometimes you want that, sometimes you don't. And you see what happens when you pull it to the other end. It gets all shadowy, and then you open up your shadows. And maybe we'll leave it open about, I don't know. It's all by your eye, maybe right about there. And then I'm gonna brighten it up a little bit. And then see, I'm not liking that this is really all white over here. So I'm going to go back. Well, I'm going to leave it. We cropped it a little bit already. So then color saturation, contrast, and cast. So saturation, just bringing it up a little bit. And you see what's happening with the meat But you got to be careful about getting into the unnatural color range, right? Like you don't want that. But when you come back, um, you get to a place where your eye goes, and I'm looking at the meat, and I like right here, and so that is, brighter than it was. If I play a little bit with contrast, kind of like the contrast down a little bit like that, and you can, if you click on the button, you can reset, or you can remove the adjustment just on the color so you don't lose what you did above in the light. Or you see the auto button? You can also, so you see what I've done here, and that's much nicer than the one we had before. And so I'm going to add those adjustments. And I'm going to click done on this one because I'm watching our time. So that is before, and that's after. And you see the difference in the color and the brightness, and you can see you can see that what it is, which is what you want. So that's 2 food pictures that I've done. So I loved the menu, but I'm going to go back just to give you a quick demonstration. I'm going to go back to as Ed and I walked up, I thought, oh, this is a cool place. I love all the brick. So I shot a quick shot just as I was walking across the street. The one before it had a car that came in. So that's why I take more than one shot. So this one, because of this cool brick, the first thing I want to do is, there's a lot of street in this, right? So it's all about just using your judgment, and your judgment might be different from mine, but I don't want all that street, and I don't want all of that. So I'm going to come way over here, like maybe there. And then watch, I'm going to do this a little bit too. I'm going to bring that over to kind of give it a little bit of balance. And I'm going to say done on that. And then what I'm going to do, and this is the fun part, this kind of shot belongs in black and white. And so for your place where you're working and places where you go, this is just the kind of place that looks really cool in black and white. So look at the difference between mono. Okay, so that's as shot, edited, or cropped, I mean. Mono, it's okay. Tonal, very washed out. But look at noir. It's very black, and look what happened to the clouds. So I love that. And for this kind of place, I might even play with some of these. Like, that's really cool. I don't like it all, but that's my personal choice. And that's like an instant camera, old fashioned. But I really like this noir. So I'm going to leave it noir. And that's done. And I like that a lot. And so I'm going to, it's saved. And then so one other thing I want to show you in the food realm. So this is a picture that also, yes, I had a big day yesterday going out. Yesterday was the Fort Worth Food and Wine Festival. So I went down there. We sat at this restaurant outdoors at the festival, a beautiful afternoon, and ordered a cocktail. And this is how it was shot with my iPhone just sitting there, and I chose that angle, and look how close I was to that glass. You want to be close, close, close up when you're shooting things. That's just so you can taste it. You can see the rim of the glass, blah, blah, blah. So this is after, and look at the difference. But with this one, not only did I brighten it a lot, and I enhanced the color almost, like I feel like I'm right on the edge of getting inappropriate with the color, but when I posted it to Facebook, whoop, that's the weather in Las Vegas. When I posted it to my Facebook page, that's what it looked like. And you can follow me on Facebook at Nancy Moments Farrar. That's what it looked like on Facebook. I got 50 likes, and all these people had something to say about it, which is cool. And if I had posted that other shot on social media, I promise you, I might have gotten 5 people with a thumbs up or whatever. And so it really does. It does make a difference. And so, there we go. So that's the difference. So there's our black and white. And let's play with, menu. I'm going to edit this. I kind of like the way it's shot already. If I auto enhance it, that turned out pretty good, actually. You see what happened there? That was pretty good. I liked that. I'll play with some filters because it's a groovy thing. I like it. Because it's brown leather, I kind of like that it's brown leather. I'd probably leave it like that. I don't like any of that much, so I'm going to go to none. I'm going to brighten it up a little bit. I'm going to give it a little contrast. See what happens to the table. And you just play. And, on a menu, it obviously, or that's the check. There's not the menu, it's the check. But see the cast changes from that blue cast up to a more orange cast and warming it up. So if you're in cool lighting and under bluish lights, you can play with that cast and bring it up to warm it up a little bit. And I like that a little bit warmer. And maybe a little bit more brightness. And then done. Questions at this point before I do another one? Thoughts?
Nancy, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. As you're going through and showing how to edit, and I know you're probably going to cover some of this at the end. We need, and I think I speak for all the chefs on the phone call whenever I say this. We as chefs don't always get necessarily the best places to use these photos and why we should use certain photos. So speak some as you go through, or maybe you're going to cover this at the end, kind of from a marketing perspective of what to do with these really great photos to really help, enhance our brand and bring business.
And let me address that right now because I do have my own social media pulled up. I will go, okay, so so here's the first thing. You're a chef. I'm a food photographer. This is so I have for our food photography page, but I do really post a lot of and you should do this as well, a personal page on Facebook and a business page. So I have, that's my page. So, and when I just put it home, my Farrar food photography is right over here. And there I am. And my brand is photography of food. So I'm holding a camera and my page shows food. And that's what you should do. And using your iPhone photos in your social media on a very regular basis. I mean, when you scroll down, I'm going to go to my page. Like when you scroll down through what I have posted, it's just it's cookbooks. It's siblings day, it's restaurants and pictures of food, but I never post anything that's awful. And in my mind, I did a food festival and I just love that little baby feet. But food needs to be presented on a regular basis. And in terms of how often to post, there's nothing wrong with posting something every day. If you can't do that, at least a few times a week when you can, and you can schedule posts ahead of time if you want to. But do it regularly and have a personal page and a business page because they drive to each other. And remember on your personal page that people are watching you. So I really keep my personal page focused on food. I really do. I'm using my personal page really in a business fashion. And then the other place for you is Instagram. If it's about food, Instagram is the second best place. I mean, Twitter is really important too, of course. How many of you are on? Tell me what social media you're on. How about that?
Nancy, let me say something real quick while they're going to chime in. What about Pinterest for us versus Instagram? How do you feel about that?
I think it's hugely important. Pinterest is huge, and I have a Pinterest page as well. And here's the thing: for you guys at home, for chefs who are delivering food, doing catering, etc., Pinterest is huge because your recipes are there. So here's my Pinterest. So I have them all, but I promise you, I can't, I'm human just like you, and I can't be active on all these sites all the time. So my Pinterest page is Chef Impersonator, and I've got 83 boards, and I got all these pins. Um, and for you guys, this is huge. And so make sure that your brand is here. And because for me, the reason it doesn't say for our food photography is because this is about my Chef Impersonator cooking recipes. And so that's important for me. So I'm kind of like you in that regard, right? And so, yes, and post them and make your boards be specific to the kinds of groupings of foods that you do. And then make sure to link one to the other. So when you're in your Facebook page, and you're, put your direct people to your recipe on Pinterest and use these social media to enhance your brand, as Deb said. And here's the deal. You can't be all things all the time. I can't do Twitter. And it is possible, by the way, in case you didn't know, to link your Instagram, your Facebook, and your Twitter all together so that you only do one post. My personal choice is, because Twitter only allows me 140 characters, I post separately because I want to say different things on Facebook than Twitter, and that's just a personal preference because I have the time to do it. So I'm more active on, because I'm a photographer, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. For you guys, Pinterest and Facebook. Go ahead. Someone was talking? Okay. Any other questions there before I continue?
No, that's good. That's helpful.
Yeah, really important. And somebody have a question? Or was that just interference?
And this is Michael. You had asked about different sites. So we do Facebook, Twitter, and just started doing Instagram and Pinterest. I guess you're saying that Pinterest for us you think is kind of the most impactful?
No, for you, I think Pinterest is very impactful because what it does is it gives a picture of your food and then can drive people back to your website. And you can say something about your food on Pinterest. You know what I'm saying? Like,
we've started doing a lot of blog posts, and we're doing like menus every 2 weeks, or recipes every 2 weeks.
Right.
2 weeks. Is there a way to easily, because I don't know anything about Pinterest, and actually one of my kitchen managers is the one that just started our account. Is there a way, so that we're not kind of doubling our efforts, is there a way to just kind of post those links onto Pinterest that will drive them back to our blogs, or do we have to literally like copy and paste those blogs into Pinterest?
Oh no, see, here's my web homepage. Here's my link to my Facebook page, my link to my Twitter. Google Plus I am not active on, and I'm actually removing that until I get active. I can't do it all, right? Pinterest and Instagram. So from here, from my site, you go right to that's my Instagram account, and it's all pictures of food photography, and then this beautiful little gecko and that baby. So anyway, for you, making sure that people can get to your social sites from your website. And then what I've done, and it's be good for you, if you're blogging and you've got a website and you're trying to do all this social media, if you don't, it's awesome and to do if you have the time and the capability, but tie them together like I did here. So my blog, Chef Impersonator, and I tell people it's my Chef Impersonator blog. I don't just say, if I just said Chef Impersonator, people wouldn't know it was my blog. They might bypass it. So I would encourage you to do that, and then make sure that you've got your social icons on your site wherever they go. And again, this is just to take the time to invest, if you can, in letting a professional create your website. It makes all the difference in the world. Now, when I started out, when I started Chef Impersonator, it did not look like this. I didn't have a nice logo. I've got aprons and t-shirts now with my logo on there. But I didn't start out that way. I was on blogger.com and I was doing it myself and it was perfectly fine. But when I got serious about it, if I want advertisers or whatever, I needed to be serious about it. So I paid a graphic designer a little bit of money to do this for me. And now you can go back and forth from my blog to my website, back and forth, and I never lose a customer. Does that help?
Yes, very much so. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions there? Okay. So let's go back to, whoop, 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 whoop. Let's go back here.
Oh, Nancy.
Yep, go ahead.
Alicia had a question, or Elena actually. She asked if you've ever used the Foodie app. She says it seems to have filters specific for food, and she wanted to know your thoughts about it.
Thank you for asking that. That's such a timely question. So, because I'm the food writer at the Star Telegram, the Star Telegram, my editor there sent me a note and said, Nancy, I just got a press release about this new app called Foodie. Would you be interested in doing a contrast and compare and trying it out and then writing a column for us on what you think of it? And I said, oh my God, yes, I'd love to. And I have the Foodie app on my phone and I'm touching on it right now. And this is my opinion, and everybody likes different apps, okay? So let's talk about apps. Foodie, the reason that it has not been one of my favorites so far, and I haven't used it that much, the reason that it's not one of my favorites is because it's these automatically preset settings. And there are a lot of them. If you haven't, go to it and download it and play with it. You know, you can always delete it if you don't want it. It's free. But what I don't like about it is that the photograph, I'm going to pull up a photograph in it like right now. And as I do it, the photograph, you don't have the ability to really customize. So the ones that I love and that I would encourage you to download and play with the three of them and see what you think. And it's probably because I'm a professional food photographer, I want more customization than it allows me. And I want depth of field. Write that down. Depth of field. And Tada SLR and Snapseed allow me great flexibility with depth of field. And with food, you just really want that, you know, like this is my Lightroom account. This is what's going to appear in the newspaper on Wednesday. But you got depth of field here where you've got, you know, nice clear piece of beef here, and then you've got the, you know, some fading going on. Here you've got, you know, you just can't get that with some of these. So my preference really is either Snapseed or Tada SLR over Foodie. And then the other thing on Foodie, they auto stamp your picture with their logo to promote. And I wasn't crazy about that because I don't want their logo on my pictures, but that's just me.
Nancy, Alicia also has another question about, she said Tadal's for iPhone, but do you know of any Android apps that can help?
Alicia, I have to tell you, I have never touched an Android phone and at all. So I really don't have a bit of information about it. To get it though, what I might do is, you know, I just Google most popular Android food photography apps and see what comes up. I've actually never done it. And maybe for my next talk, I'll do some research and find what the top ones are. But you have to really use them and experience them to know. So I'm gonna go do this, and I'm gonna go back. And I'm going to show you. Okay, so here's another. These are every place I go, I take food pictures. This is all with my phone. So one more editing. Let's do this one. Okay. So this is a couscous dish. I belong to a cookbook club. I live and breathe food, live and breathe it. So this, one of the women in the club made this dish, and this is Kalamata olives and cherry tomatoes around the edges of this. And I took, here's the other tip. Take the shot as close to how you want it to finally be as possible. Don't take it from really, really far away and then try to crop in. Like I took about 5 pictures of this, and then I kind of liked this because I liked the brightness here and whatnot. But watch what happens with just a little bit. So I'm not gonna crop any further. I'm just gonna go to adjustments. I'm gonna give this some brightness. See, look, it's getting prettier and prettier. If it was professional, I would have filled this part in with a little spoon, maybe flattened it out a little bit, but watch what happens. So let's see what happens when and I haven't edited this picture before, so let's see if I open up the shadows, what happens. And see, that big indentation crater kind of disappeared a little bit. If you go that way, and you don't want to go all the way, and you just kind of play with what your eye likes, right? My eye kind of likes that. And then saturation, I'm going to brighten this up. And look at the tomatoes popping now. And you don't want to pop them to the point where they're exploding off the page like that. But I bring it up just for social media. You know, it loses a little bit in the interpretation when you post it. And so I might leave it a little brighter, you know, and I would be done with this. And that's really, if you play with brightness and saturation, you're going to have, you're going to have a better photo. This one looks like, look how easy this is going to be. Boom. I'm going to brighten it up. So much prettier bright. I'm going to open up the shadows a little bit and see what happens. Look, you can see the lines in the citrus. And then I'm going to pop these colors probably a good bit because I want that to be kind of brighter than, look, and see? Now it's like, well, that's too much. See, that's just too much. 0.64 is too much. And so I'm going to bring it up. There's a point where you just, it's a judgment thing. And I'm going to leave it a little bit bright like that. And that's all it took to make that photo look like that. And then when you save them, you say in your apps, you can save a before and after copy. And you can always revert this back to the original. Always know you can revert it back to the original. Boom. And that's it. So we have about 5 minutes left. So I'm going to open it up for other questions and thoughts. Anybody? If you don't, I'm going to give you another tip. So let's say you have a kitchen. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Nancy. Chef May asked if you've heard of the FYUSE app. The FYUSE app. She said it's a 3D spatial photography app.
I have heard of it, and I have not used it, and I haven't downloaded it. I'm aware that it exists, but I have not. No, thanks for bringing it up, though. I'll play with it. I just have to choose, right? Go ahead. Okay. Yeah, I have not, but I appreciate knowing about it. So here's the last tip for you in terms of light. Let's say you have a dark kitchen where you're preparing your food, or a dark space, or a dark home, or a dark kitchen, or whatever. Or it's a cloudy day, a cloudy, rainy day, and you've just got to take a picture of this food. This is the light that I use in my home, in a home studio, and I would recommend it. It's called the Lowell Ego Digital Imaging Fluorescent Light, and food photographers use it, like food bloggers use this light a lot. And all you do is plug it in. It stands about 1.5 feet high. Well, we can actually look and see if I'm right. We can get the specs, but whatever. It is, 16.5 inches, and it plugs in. You set it on the table, and for $105.88, it's the best investment you'll ever make, because if you got a dark kitchen or a dark home, a dark room, you turn that on and use it on the side of the food, and you're going to shoot. You're shooting from the front, and you're going to put that light on the side or sometimes behind, especially like if you had something that's you can see through, like like fruit I've done from behind, but it's wonderful. And this B&H is a store in New York City. You can get it on Amazon.com as well, but I just pulled this one up fast. So it's the Lowell EGO digital fluorescent light, and I have one. I started out with one. I use other lighting now, but I did start out with this, and it's wonderful. So we are at 11:55. Thoughts, questions, tips, challenges that you've had? What's your biggest challenge?
Oh, Alicia wanted us to mention that Hootsuite is a social media manager that allows you to post on all social media platforms at the same time. You can schedule them out.
Yes.
So we just wanted to let everyone know about that. That's an easy way to kind of post on all platforms, but save you a lot of time.
Exactly.
It
And
does
I've used, yes.
I think it costs $10 a month for the basic membership, so it's pretty affordable.
Yes, Hootsuite is wonderful, and I've used it. And like I said, my personal choice is to post it separately, but it sure is a time saver, and a whole lot of folks do it that way. So I encourage you to. So, at the end of the day, there's really no substitute for professional photography because you can see the quality of the images that are flashing on my homepage. But if you're feeling pretty good about editing in the phone itself, start there, get good editing in the phone, and then download a couple of apps and start playing with it. And you can't ruin a photo. You can always revert to the original. And so just play and use your eye to make your food look as beautiful as it does on that plate. When in branding, your food is it's your brand, and it needs to look beautiful on every place that people see it. And so that's why it's so valuable for social media. Also, last thing, you can sign up on my website to get emails from me, and also on my blog if you're interested. You can right here enter your email address and subscribe to my posts. So every time I post a recipe, you will automatically get a copy. And again, here on my blog, you can link to all of my social media. There's a search function, etc., and you should do that as well. But if you'd like to receive emails, you can do that. And then, I'm thinking about, Deb, just FYI in closing, I'm thinking about, a second class on these apps and getting into some detail on use of the apps, because you can't cover it all at once. And I appreciate you all being here. If you would, please like me on Facebook, and you should also say that to all your customers. Don't be afraid to ask people to like you and follow you. So follow me on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and I'll take any last minute questions. All righty.
So I don't see any questions, but thank you so much, Nancy. I know that they've all learned a lot, and I mean, it's amazing what you can do on your iPhone.
Yes,
now you guys have no excuse to put out ugly pictures.
No excuse whatsoever.
Yes. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for being on the call, and we will send out the recording later this afternoon.
And if you have questions, I'm Nancy at FarrarFoodPhotography.com.
And I'll go ahead and post that in the chat for people.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.